What if police had a way to help them identify and stop would-be serial killers before they murder? This year, the FBI may have a new tool that could help. It has to do with the link between animal cruelty and a who's who of American psychos.
Dahmer started with reptiles and went from reptiles to cats and dogs and then to people. And if you look at all the different serial killers who've done that, that's where they start. They start at the basic bottom, work their way up to cats to dogs, and just serial killer after serial killer documented now.
John Thompson is a longtime veteran in law enforcement. After doubting for decades, he's now a strong believer in the link between animal cruelty and murderers.
We get stuff all the time.
The National Sheriff's Association, where he's second in command, is a partner of a new FBI initiative to track animal abusers to try to stop serial killers. Beginning this year, the FBI is collecting crime reports under the category of animal abuse and sharing through its national database.
There was just a case in California where they arrested him for this man for animal abuse, and when they ran the weapon that he shot the dog with, found out he was connected to 7 or 8 murders.
So on Saturday, when these dogs were shot and 2 of them were killed, the animal cruelty unit rolled out from home. And by Saturday night, they knew who Hernandez was.
A roll call of names, a history of evil. Albert DeSalvo, known as the Boston Strangler, son of Sam killer David Berkowitz, John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, serial killers, all whom law enforcement claim were strongly linked to killing animals before they started killing people. Is there specific evidence that serial killers often have or sometimes have animal cruelty predictors in their background?
Oh, many serial killers have committed animal cruelty and have done it in a way that's been repeated and recurring.
Mary Lou Randor is a psychologist and advocate at the Animal Welfare Institute who long saw that the worst kinds of criminals often had animal abuse in their past. In 2003, she got frustrated when she learned the FBI wasn't connecting the dots.
Because you harm an animal once in your life doesn't mean you're going to become a serial killer. But research is very clear that for people who engage in animal cruelty and continue to throughout their life, childhood, adolescents, and adults, commit many more serious offenses. And serial killers are one example of that.
She began a long process to convince law enforcement that the link was real. That included lobbying the FBI to acknowledge it too. For most of his almost 4 decades in law enforcement, Thompson saw no link at all and no reason to track the data. What finally opened his eyes was a paper written by his own daughter, a prosecuting attorney.
My daughter actually wrote a paper, an article on the link between animal abuse and serial killers, and when I read it, it was like, what? You know, this can't be true. And I started researching and found out that, my God, not only is it true, it's widespread. Then I actually took it on, NSA and our board, to take it before the FBI and say, this is something that law enforcement needs to know.
He became a man on a mission. At the time, he was an FBI policy advisor, and he made the case.
Being with the Advisory Policy Board, we really hash out, there is a good group of people there, and they hash out everything to make sure that we do the right thing. It really wasn't a hard sell.
There's more to do. Randor is now working to convince local law enforcement to contribute to the FBI database since reporting is voluntary. How can you see law enforcement, theoretically, if a community is interested or thinks that they may have a problem, how could you see them using this data?
We did really accomplished a lot by having this happen with the FBI, but now it's in a way a national community organizing effort. And we're working on that. We're working on that with law enforcement. We're working on that with animal control officers. Because law enforcement is so local, it has to be done that way.
This is an evil that hits dead center of every community, and we've ignored it. The culture has slid it to the side, and those days are over now. The light's on. It's just going to take a while for everybody to see it.
And advocates say it will take a while to face that challenge to convince law enforcement to provide animal cruelty stats to the FBI since reporting is voluntary. Still ahead on Full Measure, some gains reported in the fight against ISIS in Syria, but it's taking a horrific toll on civilians. Scott Thuman talks with a reporter who describes life inside the war zone.